Life in Southern California captures much of the promised dreams of the Golden State. Expansive hills, vast open vistas, have beckoned many to this place that they now call home. Yet in the skies, unseen dramas unfold as our native birds of prey struggle to survive. For thousands of years, these wild places have been their home. Today, as the grasslands disappear and man-made hazards threaten, much of what used to seem unchangeable now is undergoing transformation. Every spring and fall, thousands of migrating birds rely on Orange County's resources to help fuel their long journeys of thousands of miles. As structures and highways appear throughout this once open land, our native species encounter unfamiliar and hazardous conditions that threaten their lives. For many, their chances are uncertain. Some find second chances. The Orange County Bird of Prey Center began its work in Southern California in 1986. Formed to educate the community about birds of prey. Its mission: rehabilitate injured raptors and release recovered birds back to the wild. The center is staffed exclusively by volunteers, allowing 100% of all donations to be dedicated to the care of the birds. Many of the center's staff of volunteers not only provide daily care for the center's birds, but also reach the community with education about our environment and its raptor residents. The highlight of the year for the staff and supporters is the day of release. After a final check of the rehabilitated birds, Dr. Weldy and the volunteers prepare the center's visitors for their trip back to their natural world.
I pretty much was interested in birds all along, in all animals, but birds always intrigued me. I've been working with birds of prey since 1986. The main influence on the birds of prey is loss of habitat. That is the most important problem we have to deal with. Southern California is a major fly-through for migrating birds of prey, and so these birds are migrating from north thinking that sunny Southern California is set up for them, and they get down here and they realize that their hunting territories are smaller, so the competition becomes heavier. During the migration time, you get a lot of traumas, glass buildings, the reflective buildings they hit, the telephone wires and power lines, cars obviously, and then the few insecticides, the bullets, and then just lack of food. And they can't get through here fast enough in order to get to the next area below us and set up housekeeping there where they can actually be fed and maintained well. Some of the birds involve months and even a year or more of rehab. Theoretically, they should never end up here, and they should be smart enough to compete and avoid our man-made devices. But you have to remember that in 6 months' time, you can see what happens in these environments with the new buildings, new wires. So their adaptability is actually not as good as our land changing, and that's what makes it difficult for them. A particular bird broke its radius. When they fly, that's the leading bone, and so a lot of times they'll hit a wire and snap that bone. And that bird actually healed very nicely, and then when we release her in a heavily populated area of prey food. And those birds actually have a very good recovery rate. Of the barn owls that are in here, 2 of those birds are young birds that were brought into us. Most of our young birds this year, we were fortunate enough to have nests that we could put them back into. And so we were able to not have to rehab them, which is good. Third one that's missing the feathers, somehow or another hit something and trashed one wing. Well, all we did on that bird was feed it and wait till it molted enough feathers where it could fly reasonably well. And that's what we're doing today, is it's done its job, so we just kicked it loose. The great horned owls that are in this flight cage are birds that were fledglings, learning how to fly, and that were living in an area that was not exactly wild. This particular bird, the one that's real puffed up, is a bird that was found in the parking lot off the Floor building in Irvine. We get birds off the high rises around all the time because they're nice areas to have a nest site because they're protected. And what happens with these birds, that particular one was on the ground in a parking lot, and he'll get run over by a car or kicked or chewed on by someone's pet dog. So what we do with this guy is we've exercised him and waited till all of his feathers are fully flyable so he can fly, teach him on live food, how to hunt. We keep him with adult birds that are not socialized to people, and we don't touch or play with these birds, so as you can tell they're very afraid of us, so that they stay wild and they know that they're a bird and they have no desire to be with us.
The center treats and releases over 150 birds each year. Bird sponsors are given the opportunity to actually release the raptors that they've helped back to the skies of Orange County.
My name is Lynn Austin Daniels, and I'm here today because I am sponsoring some birds that are going to be released out into the wild. These birds have been injured and have been rehabilitated, and these birds are healthy now. And it's important for me to be here today. For them, they need to be free so that they can start their new journey.
There's nothing better than watching a bird take off flying, drop his wings down and then spread them up and pump the air. Once a bird pulls his feet up, you know he's buzzing along straight. He's not worried, he's got things under control. The public understands what we're doing and where we're going, and then gets a little education on what to do when they find injured animals or when they see them in the wild, and actually develop a healthy respect instead of a fear or an annihilation attitude against them. You can do a whole lot more with that than anything else.
This was very important to release a couple of these birds today. The freedom represents my personal freedom.
When you release birds, there's nothing better than watching a bird take off flying. When you see those birds take off and you see the people, it just gives you a warm feeling that you actually did something successful. I give them that second chance and I watch them take off, and it just makes you feel good inside.
I could feel the birds' anticipation and enthusiasm. I feel on some level the birds knew that they were going to be out in the open and released, and they were very trusting. And once I threw the bird up, I can't really explain the feeling, but I know the bird and I were extremely happy to be out and free to start its new life.
The dream for this future center is to have it generate enough money to keep itself going and to provide a tremendous educational effect in this neighborhood and in basically all of Orange County, to link our people so that they can be aware of what we have here and what we have to be concerned about, so that when they start looking at ways of improving or changing their environment, that we take into consideration not just the raptors, but foxes and the coyotes and the raccoons and the deer and the rabbits and all those animals, even our rats and mice. So when we destroy our native wildlife and our native plants, you affect everything. And everything's linked. And so what I'm trying to get people to do is appreciate that linkage and work to help preserve it all. I think people that contribute to facilities like mine do it because we all need help. Everybody needs help to do something, and we're preserving and helping our land, our environment, and I think it's a good thing and it makes you feel good.
The Orange County Bird of Prey Center needs help to continue its work and to build the dream of an expanded center. To find out how you can help, call 949-837-0786.